May God open our eyes to see, our ears to hear, and our hearts to love. A couple of months ago, National Geographic magazine named Mary as the most powerful woman in the world. But it was a rather disappointing article because it focused on miracles attributed to Mary and supposed sightings of her. The article reminded me of the excessively ornate representations of Mary as the Queen of Heaven that Claire and I saw in ornate churches and cathedrals in impoverished towns in South America. I'm not really impressed by these claims, but I am interested in how progressive Christian people can think about Mary. I care about the powerful story we heard last week of her encounter with an angel, telling her that the world would change because of the child that she would bear. And I'm compelled by her revolutionary song in the passage of Luke's Gospel, known as the Magnificat. When Mary learns that she is pregnant, her words in response to the angel are, "Let it be. Let it be according to your word." Oftentimes Mary is portrayed as compliantly, passively accepting what is happening to her. She's sometimes referred to as a vessel. But our contemporary reading invited us to consider a different interpretation. Jan Richardson's reimagining tells of the angel Gabriel's respect, even awe, for Mary. And Mary's "let it be" is recast as an assurance to the angel and a declaration to the divine that she is a woman up to the task that has been offered to her. Her yes is not passive. Her "let it be" is full of power and promise. As I thought about the Annunciation and the Magnificat, the two parts of this part of Mary's story, I realised that Mary's "let it be" in the Annunciation is best understood through the lens of the revolutionary message of the Magnificat. Yes, let it be that I should have this child. But let it be also that the world should be transformed, turned upside down. Mary's song remembers, celebrates, and anticipates events that are revolutionary in the purest sense of the word. Let it be that kings are removed from their thrones. Let it be that the powerful, imposing their will by violence, war, and occupation, will no longer shape the way of the human community. Let it be that the lowly are elevated and dignified. Let it be that the hungry are fed. Let it be that the rich lose their economic power. Just let it be. Let it be. Mary's words indicate that she is fed up with the way things are, and so she holds God to account, singing about the revolution. How shall we hear Mary's words in the context of a world at war, as our world has been since 2001? This week, civilian areas of Syria, even where Islamic State is not active, are being subject to appalling aerial bombing, and hawkish voices here and in the US are calling for a land war. Do Mary's words and example have a prayer of being heard and effecting change in this time of war without end? So much of the time we are numb to the war that we are involved in, to a war that has gone on for years on multiple fronts, numb to the violence and to the astronomical amounts of money that are required to keep it afloat. And the 1,500 people, including 70 children on Nauru and Manus Island, are the collateral damage of an ideology that has normalised war. People fleeing war are held hostage in offshore hellholes so that no more people will try to come here to escape violence and persecution that we are contributing to. Luke's Gospel portrays Mary, Jesus' mother, as a woman living in an occupied country, a place where it was not safe to speak your mind or to speak of disrupting the peace of Rome, which was no peace at all for the occupied. Mary, bearing the people's saviour in her womb, considers her condition and surveys her religious convictions, and then she utters the conclusions that she has reached. God must be on the verge of doing something. God will again be the source of change. Her pregnancy and hope provide all the evidence her conclusions need. God's Messiah will not leave the current state of affairs as they are, where the powerful humiliate and coerce the powerless. If Jesus is indeed coming, something fundamental has to change. And Mary doesn't just imagine a change, she demands it. Mary's view of God won't let her resign to the current state of affairs. She refuses to view long-term suffering and the proliferation of victims as the sacrifices that a society must offer to the guardians of the status quo in exchange for security. And that is the source of her power. Mary's speech is not made in public, but in a familial setting to her older cousin Elizabeth. There is no recognition or record of it having any public impact, but surely it tells of the religious values that Mary would in time impart to her child Jesus. Mary was no passive vessel. She was a Jewish mother who raised a child who would change human hearts and change the world through love. Mary's restlessness beautifully characterises Advent, not just a season of slowing down and getting ready and getting introspective, and certainly not for speeding up and shopping like crazy, but a time when Christians should survey the world and shout to God and to each other and to the principalities and powers, enough of this. Let it be. Let it be different in our hearts, in our homes, in our cities, in our land, in our world. Mary's revolutionary song embarrasses those of us who prefer to count our blessings. Its lyrics expose how docile and faltering we are in comparison to Mary. This soon-to-be refugee mother offends our apathy. Calling for a revolution that puts the human flourishing that God desires as the top priority, Mary still sings her song to us today. The candles that we light during Advent, fragile, flickering flames, remind us of Mary's stubborn belief that light will prevail against the darkness and that love will make a way. Her voice echoes in those who speak defiantly for human rights, racial, economic, and environmental justice, for peace. And like Mary, we are called to be God-bearers. How will we use the power we have to declare and enact the future that God promises now in our time? How will we live with passion and compassion, giving birth to the God who is always waiting to be born? And so now I invite you to hear again a song of Mary, this one written for our generation, and to hear the words of wisdom that Mary brings. Let it be, when all the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer. Let it be.